Wherever I've been, and whatever earthly beauty my eyes have beheld, I invariably compare the sight with the picture inserted in the little frame of the Satya window. And the comparison makes all the wonders of the world pale into insignificance. If for some reason I did not have my native village and its environs, if they did not live in my memory, the whole world would seem to me a breast without a heart, a mouth without a tongue, eyes without pupils, or a bird's nest without the birds. I don't wish to look for all the phenomena of our world in my Satya, in my native village, my Dagestan, or in my sense of country. On the contrary, I find a sense of country in all the phenomena of the world and in all its corners. In this sense, the whole world is my theme. I remember once being awakened by the crowing of roosters in far-off and fantastic San Diego. When I opened my eyes, it seemed to be for a few seconds that I was back home in my native village. I once attended a beauty contest held in Japan in the even more fantastic town of Kamakura. As the beautiful contestants filed past us for their queen to be chosen, I could not but compare them with the one I had left behind in the mountains of Dagestan. I failed to discover in them something that my queen possesses. After admiring to satiation during a visit to Nepal, the Buddhist temples and royal palaces, as well as the 22 springs that cure all ailments, that remove all spells and all the evil in the world, I climbed up the steep slopes of the Kathmandu mountains. These reminded me of my native Dagestan, and my heart was dilated far more than at the sight of imposing and luxurious palaces and temples. Ordinary mountains proved more precious to me than the architectural whimsicalities that I'd seen. It occurred to me that it was these mountains, and not the medicinal springs, that could exorcise all illnesses and all evil from the heart. After the teeming and noisy cities of India, I was taken to a little village near Calcutta. Work was in full swing on the extensive threshing floor, and the calm oxen were treading the golden sheaves of wheat underfoot. No museum or theater in the world has ever brought so much joy to my heart as the sight of those slow-moving oxen treading the golden sheaves. It seemed to me that I was back home in my native Aul, back in my childhood. I've seen in the mountains of Indonesia the drums being beaten in the same way as in our mountains. A Caucasian walking in the streets of New York clad in our national costume, the Circassian coat. Sad-faced Dagestanis living in self-imposed exile in Istanbul and Paris, the most miserable people on earth. Earthenware on show in London, the handiwork of the celebrated potters of Balhar, the amazement of Venice audiences at the skill of our tightrope walkers from the Lak village of Shovkra, a book about Shamil at a second-hand bookshop in the city of Pittsburgh. From everywhere, from any distant place I've been to, my thoughts all lead to Dagestan. It bodes ill for the warrior if several foes attack him simultaneously. He cannot defend himself from front and rear at the same time. But if he finds a rock to stand with his back to, things are not quite so bad. An agile and skillful swordsman can cope with 2 and even 3 enemies if he has a rock behind him to stand against. Dagestan is my rock. It helps me to stand up to all difficulties, to the greatest of trials. When a child is punished for mischief, our mountain customs permit punishment on any part of the body except the face. The human face is sacrosanct. This law is obeyed by all our mountain folk. Dagestan is my face, and I'll allow no one to touch it. Our mountain folk show great patience when they quarrel. They may exchange many harsh words, each man putting up with such words, replying with harsh words of his own. That goes on while the harsh words refer only to the quarrelers themselves. But woe to the man whose accidental or careless words touch upon the honor of a mother or a sister. That will bring the daggers into play. Dagestan, you are a mother to me. Let those who quarrel with me remember that. I will bear with any harsh words addressed to me, but I will permit no words to touch my Dagestan. You, Dagestan, are my love and my vow, my supplication and my prayer. You alone are the main theme of all my books and all my life. The history of other states and lands has long been written, not only in blood, but also in ink and on paper, not only by soldiers and military leaders, but by writers and historians. The history of Dagestan has been recorded by sabers, and it was only in the 20th century that Dagestan received the pen as well. When I return home from foreign parts, the mountain folk gather round me and ask me to tell them what I've seen. They sit in a circle round me and listen. I can speak for 3 hours at most, during which I tell them about France or India, Japan or Turkey. After 3 hours, the talk imperceptibly goes over to Dagestan. I speak about our Dagestan, and my friends listen to me as if they were hearing things for the first time, although it is they that make up Dagestan.
Today we invite to excerpts from Rasul Gamzatov's book, My Dagestan, in which the poet glorifies his homeland. You've been listening to another program in the series Audio Book Club. Mail your opinions and requests to the following address: Radio Moscow World Service, Moscow, USSR.
And now, a brief announcement. We invite all lovers of classical music to tune in to Music and Musicians in the World Service of Radio Moscow. The program is on the air Fridays at 7:30, 10:30, 14:30, 18:30, and 21:30, Saturdays at 10:30, and Sundays at 18:30 UTC.
Radio Moscow World Service is now on frequencies in the 13-meter band and on 321 meters in the medium wave. We're dropping others in the 41, 49, and 74-meter band short waves and on 194 and 256 meters in the medium wave. We say goodbye to our North American listeners until 04 hours UTC, when we'll be back in the 31, 41, and 49-meter bands. Following this announcement, the North American service of Radio Moscow will be broadcasting in the 16, 19, 25, and 41-meter bands.
is Moscow. 15.45, 15.14, 12.05, 7.44, 7.32, 7.21, 7.18, 7.16, 7.15, 7.11, and 7.10 megahertz. Transmission in Radio Moscow's North American service to the East Coast closes down at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
This is Radio Moscow, and here is the news. First, the headlines. The Soviet leader Konstantin Chernenko has said that the USSR is working to exclude war as a means of settling disputes and differences. This Sunday marks 55 years since the establishment of the Communist Party of Vietnam. The Central Committee of the Soviet Communist Party has sent a telegram of greetings to the Vietnamese communists. In Chile, the Pinochet regime has said the country will remain in a state of siege for another 3 months. Those were the headlines. Now the news in detail. Soviet leader Konstantin Chernenko has said that the Soviet Union is working to exclude war as a means of settling disputes and differences. This statement appears in President Chernenko's address to the readers of the monthly Soviet Union in connection with the 40th anniversary of the victory over German fascism and Japanese militarism. Konstantin Chernenko points out that humanity had to pay a high price in defending its right to life. The Soviet Union lost 20 million people in that war. A third of the country's national wealth was destroyed by the aggressor. The USSR's decisive role in World War II is generally acknowledged, Konstantin Chernenko points out. But we are far from minimizing the significance of the struggle of other countries and peoples. Describing the current international situation, President Chernenko points out that no task is now more important than to curb the arms race, above all the nuclear arms race, and then advance along the path of nuclear arms reduction